Lesson DFF, Dogfighting Formula, Quantum Dogfighting. We will be using the infrastructure from previous lessons, explaining the connectivity and alterability between light matter energy. As we know, we use B-dub hertz, charged particles photons, 25 angstroms, sequences at LDD, and speculative formula deployment. As such, DFF will be a couple lessons. The first will be a streamlined DFF deployment. The second will be a relatable DFF deployment. DFF is dogfighting formula, quanta dogfighting. Purpose, CF triumphant greater than tragic. Also known as CF TIH greater than DH. Allowing a new elements onto Earth's reservoir of TIH integrity. Planting a DFF leaf pilt begins by ensuring an object existing universally at LDD plural. Ensured allows spacecraft and associated B-dubs to be able to traverse LDD if and when the guaranteed is destruction to all aircraft's cargo. Live aerial spacecraft is not destroyed, are traversing LDD where destruction did not happen. Then able for the purpose of bombarding DH tragic Hertz plumes, tragic DH angstroms plumes, greater is TIH. As such, TIH triumphant plumes are CD, PD, 86400 availability. Ensured a specific object is yes from DFF deployed achievement is process responsible for universally Ain-Rord leaf pilt. All right, so let's go a little less formal on it. It's a very stern, what we're talking about is very stern, so we just kind of needed to go with that. So that might be the tone for the whole lesson, but let's go a little less formal on it. So we're going to be using a couple different terms. They're all relatable. So we're going to be using object. You heard that. Object is coexisting at LDD, plural, all LDD. So over here we have our linear graph, and these points represent both an LDD at a sequence or sequence at LDD, where an object is existing at each one, and these are all different Earths that we bring based upon this process. So we build them, and there are basically like, I want to say carbon copies, AI copies. They're empowered by your brainwaves. We'll go more into that later, but just know the object that we're talking about ensuring exists at all these LDDs, right? And so what we do is we ensure it using the Ain-Rord process so that if a destruction, it is guaranteed to happen because we live in a solar system that gives DH. When it happens, we can jump to the next level where it never happened. Okay, and this is for aerial aircraft, so flying, boom, flying, you know what I mean? They shouldn't have let me in, but I'm in, right? So flying here, and I'm in this right here, and there's a DH order from the solar system that comes in to try to destroy it, but I have this object here, but at this level, it gets destroyed, but I'm insured here, so whenever the bomb comes and hits me here, I'm in this LDD where it never happened. And then I keep going so I can fulfill the mission purpose to bring TIH greater than DH. So the object is specific, but it changes, so we'll get into that later. And we also are going to be using an instrument. Different companies have been doing phenomenal jobs. So what that peripheral instrument is, it's in your cockpit. We'll go into that a little bit more in detail. And think of it like an altitude type thing. There you go. But it's an empowered periph. Same concept. How we ensure the objects, same process of how we ensure the instrument. And yes, the V Ain-Rord, all of that. Okay, you're also going to be hearing a lot about totality. Totality are B-dubs Hertz current sum of angstroms distributed from B-dubs 25 past tap, present tap, future tap. We will get into how to get more systematic at a different lesson, but just know totality is the sum for the pilots, the DFF pilots, that's been distributed. The sum is from his past, present, and future on 25 laws. Also, you're going to be hearing during use like four leaf pill, totality changes and it's called credit. And that's of CDPD, where credit means plus, debit means minus, and paid PD is angstroms Hertz, which those are the plus and minus angstroms Hertz, depending on if you're a tragic triumphant. But when you have enough credit, you get debited and you paid the V-Ain roared leaf pilt. Another thing that is asked to be put down is these LDD, right? So we live in a solar system that is tragic. Everybody's got one. It's sad. It is. So the DH, dying force, etc. It's been pinpointed what they are. Anything else is technically a conversation. We'll get into it. That happens at deck. But there's basically fire like Hades. Not here to convert you. It is what it is. It is what it is. Okay? Then you have death. Then you have torture. Then you have rape. And then you have Li-Shane, which is sleep. All right? So those are the tragic things that the DH solar system, because we're under that order, that's what's the tragic thing that is there. It just is. Everything else is just a topic of conversation about it that happens at deck. Now, these alternate by 5. So, for example, I'm only focusing on LDD 2 and 3 right now for various reasons, but they alternate by 5. So, if we were to go 1 and we were saying death, which is the second one, it would be 2 plus 5 is 7, plus 5 is 12, 17, 21, all the way up to 95, etc. Same for all of these, so they alternate by 5. Li-Shane, that one gets taken as the deck. So the deck, the best way I can describe a deck is we all live on a deck. And everything else is those other places where it's happening are all the energy mass that are putting into it. And then the deck remains after that event occurs. The best example I have, give me 1 second. The best example remains with a former president, JFK. Now just imagine, okay? You were on a deck. Let's say JFK's back. Incredible, right? But we're at Arlington, and I'm sitting here right next to John F. Kennedy, right? And we're looking at this grave, and we're looking at this saint, and there's JFK, right? And I'm talking to him, and you know what I mean? I, for the longest time, thought that you were the forgotten soldier, and he goes, no. Forgotten soldiers, Vietnam. Learn something new every day, JFK. But we're talking, right? And I say, hey, isn't that yeah, that's me down there. That is dead. But he's up here talking. That's an example of a deck. That you could be in a cohesion type of event where something else is here, which is Arlington, right here. But I'm talking to him live right here. That's a deck. And sorry to go there too. I was hoping to be a little bit more respectful, but sometimes the topic just isn't respectful no matter how you say it. So yeah, but still that's the example of a deck. All right, let's start breaking down this formula. We're going to focus now on this portion, and that is A log P equals the square root of x squared times DL times pilt plus y squared times ML times pilt plus z squared times RL times pilt. Now, A log P equals a magnitude. The log P is for 0 angstroms perfect. Okay, X equals past 25 totality. Y equals present 25 totality. Z equals future 25 totality. So what is totality? Yes, totality was the sum, the accumulated sum that is being distributed on the B dubs based upon their past, present, and future tap on the 25 laws. Okay, so their credit, debit, paid. Okay, so why do we square it and square root it? So we square these values here so that the B dub can traverse PPF. Okay, we square root it so the B dub can traverse LDD. Better explanation. Now this is numerical, which is great because it's repeatable. When we're doing this, we're using words into an energy, words as energy, thoughts, etc., into energy, light, matter, depending on what we're using it for. So the numerical example. If we have the square root of 9, we know the answer is 3. Yet we cannot get to 9 to have the answer unless we squared the 3, which gives us a 9. Now, why this is important is that it satisfies dropping levels, maintaining levels, and rising levels, which happens with LDD. So when we pull the square root, we maintain levels, we can rise levels, or we can drop levels. So we can traverse LDD by square rooting it. Now, it is squared, the X, Y, and Z, past, present, and future, because of how angstroms are distributed. Angstroms are distributed based upon the pilots, DFF pilots, past, present, and future, how they are thalamus afuera, peripheral, the 25 laws, means that the triumphant or tragic is additioning or subtracting both tragic or triumphant based upon what they're doing. So by squaring it, it's basically taking those angstroms and putting it into the future so we can capture better this whole traversability across LDD based upon angstroms and hertz. Okay, so one other thing is a magnitude, which is, as you know, magnitude, here's the endpoints. The magnitude are all of these, and we get to them by the same process for V and roar, which, as you know, it's a CF process, charged particles, photons. We get B dub hertz. We have 25 laws, totality systematically, and sequences in LDD and speculative formula deployment. So that gives us our magnitude or our ability to traverse all of these. So the DL, ML, and RL are all live, okay? Whenever you're switching, the one you switch to becomes unlive or pilt. So an example of this is, let's say I'm flying, right? And I'm at 17, and the DH order for death comes in, and it's going to get my plane. I'm at level degree 17, deck 2, and DH comes in. My instrument goes off and lets me know it. I'm in live at 17. If I don't jump to 22 with an insured object, then I will reach death. Okay, so I do what is taken. I'm insured here, and I go here. Now I'm in 22, and I'm in live. 17, where I was, is now unlive, which is where that ionic order hits, so it misses me. Boom. So now I'm at 22 live, flying. You know what I mean? Just flying. And now another one comes in. DH order is trying to get me. Boom. So I have to switch to 27, LDD 27, deck 2, and now I'm in 27 live, level degree, and 22 becomes unlive A, where that death ionic order hits the aircraft and its components, and I keep going. So I can eventually reach the mission, drop payload where necessary, so that I can give TIH greater than DH. Correct. So DFF deployment. Now, the DFF lessons we're going to set up as a couple. The first one's going to be a streamlined process for the whole picture, for starting from nothing to the most perfect one imaginable. Now, the good with that is it's done. We reached it. We have the leap to do it. The difficult part of that is that it's speaking a language to students fluently to students, and you're not even, and we're talking about a dog and I'm holding a cat, and it's just going to cause confusion. So mind you that this is the end of what I've calculated as bombardment TIH greater than DH for leaf pilt 22-2. So that's good, right? So it gives everybody to strive for something in case we're doing something else. And my local pilots over here say, well, I don't really want to study terraforming due to focus on this. It gives them something to always aim for and strive to do. So that is one point of going to that advancement and streamlining the process. Now the next lesson is going to be more relatable to everybody. So any questions you have will be better answered in the next lesson. Okay, so if we've got this now, I'll go ahead and take a picture and put it up at the end of it so that the distance is a little bit different. But we know this formula here, and then we know we've got the speculative here. So to streamline the process, you know we go for zeros based upon perfect angstrom. The perfect solution is zero, right? You're carrying no weight with you, and you're attaching to thermal light easier. So the magnitude becomes zero equals the square root 0 squared times 0 times pilt plus 0 squared times 0 times pilt plus 0 squared times 0 times pilt, which gives you the grand total of 0 angstroms equals 0 pilt. Meaning that any pilt you have at this streamlined process must be 0, all right? So once we get that, and then we're going to go to the speculative formula. Now again, I repeat myself, this is a streamlined process for the best leaf imaginable. So bear with me and we'll get into a more relatable one next lesson. So we have speculative formula. So F, we have LD, and we're doing level degrees 27, 37, 49 with decks 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and those are what we're going to pilt. So we're going to be pilting off the ionic order of the dying force death at those level degrees decks. Again, level degree 27, 37, 49, decks 2 and 3. Now, the place where we're going to end up is level degree deck 3, 4. We won't reach deck 4, but we'll reach deck 3. But we'll be in the deck where 4 would be if we reach it. That's why we say level degree deck 3, 4. Equals Earth's constant, 1358 watts per meter squared, over our C pi t, again, is the leaf at sequence. Our sequences are going to be 25,200, where if you mathematize it, you get 7 a.m. So this leaf that you're building takes place at 7 a.m. or 25,200 sequences. So I put 25,900 to be the starting point. And then each one of these decks and level degrees alternate at one sequence each, and that's from pilting off the DH dying force deck. Okay, so then we multiply that by LDD leaf pilt, which is the area surfaced, is all the LDDs that we're going to obtain leaf pilt. Then we multiply that, more specifically, the LDD, and we break it up by leaf, by pilt, and each one is for this one here. The dropping levels, maintaining levels, rising levels. So each LDD that we're going to has a leaf that is DL, ML, RL, and each LDD has a pilt that is DL, ML, RL. So it's putting that into the equation. Then we multiply that by the cosine I, which is 90 degrees, because the eternal expanding universe is 90 degrees. And then we're using one aeronautical unit, 93 million miles minus, it's like 40,000. It's like 40,000 miles for the magnetosphere, etc. So if you were to get into it, it's 92, 960, 92, 965, 92, 925, approximation, right? So we're just going to use one AU, so that brings in the charged particles and everything like that. And then the RRR, we are not going to repeat or remain with this as the consistent for our 86400, but we are remixing it. And so when I was saying earlier about like striving to do it when I'm doing something else and they only want to fly, which is incredible and good job, this allows it to be a leaf that can be continually used. It's just not going to be a constant for 86400. Okay, and then that equals P, which we know is 0 angstroms. And then we multiply that by the quotation hertz, which is from LD. This was the main one right here, which is LD 1 through 49, deck 3 of 4, sequence 25,200 on. Okay, so then we divide that through 25, 0, which as we know is you have to have 0 of 25 for the 25 laws across present tap, peripheral tap, future tap. And then the increments of, once you are able to control something or put something into the future, it's technically 0 is the big measurement, but increments of that ability to go into the future and play something there is called PEEV, right? So we square PEEV to just say that it's a continuation. A quick note, 1 0 dub equals 2 weeks. So 1 0 dubs of being able to play something into the future, etc., is 1 0 dubs. And having not reached a complete 0 dubs, it's called a PEEV. So we square it to keep the process going. And then we multiply that by our epi LDD, which epicenter is where our B dubs are active. That's an epicenter, LDD. And then again, the stack.mpa is the systematic approach. I'm not here to convert you. It's sign, 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 oath over and over again until you light bright this 0. Okay, whenever we're done with that, we're going to reach a V-ain roared that says stop prying. And that is going to be the categorical 22.2 that my localized pilots strive and will accomplish to be able to aim roar. So it's called stop prying. Prying. Okay. Now, a few things about this before we get into the visualization of it. So same process, deck 2, wherever we are is 25,199, right? And then at 25,200, this object I'm going to keep classified, because when it's known what it is, it's easier to break it from a tragic Hertz plume, and I don't want to go through that right now. So you'll know it if you reach it what the object is. Just try to get it insured. Not knowing what the object is will do the same thing. That's not always the case, but right now it is. So at 25,200, you'll be at deck 2 at 25,201, 27 degree, 25,202, 37 degree, 25,203 at deck 3 at 25,204, you'll be at 49 degree, and at 25,205, you'll be back at deck 2. Now, I want to go into something else that is kind of interesting, and physicists are going to love this one. They're going to just eat this one up. Okay, so this is basically what it goes like. But each one of the decks, considering that there's a death ionic order on it. So I have here these ones broken down. Now, what did relativity teach us? Well, it taught us that space-time bends upon matter. Now, the number one place where death takes place is level degree 2, which is in deck 1. That's technically where all dead go. So that has a different matter, which physics, relativity, causes a bigger droop in which it has more gravity that pulls in similar matter within its gravitational force, which in this one is the dying force, the DH ionic force of death. Now, why that's interesting is if all of these are 86,400, 49,3, 37, 27,2, and wherever we start, and it is 86,400. So if you're closer to deck 1, level degree 2, that means that you're nearer the biggest, grandest bender of space-time for the gravity of death. So this time at a lower is faster. So it reaches it faster. So, for example, deck 2 is a faster sequence through 86,400 in time dilation, proves it. Then level degree 27, which is faster to this death, over like true death, not sign death, like where you are dead, is faster than 37, which is faster than 3, which is faster than 49. So that's why whenever you reach these pilts or these level degrees, you can be in them for a differing time. But you'll notice as you get to higher level degrees and decks that you can be at them for a greater amount of time. So that's because of this phenomena. So if I was at, let's say, level degree 27, I may only be there for 30 seconds because it's traveling so fast and it's going into this microcosm black hole where death actually happens at LD2 faster than if I was at, let's say, deck 3 total. So I could be there for 3.5 hours bombarding. So that whole process continues because of this. But that's a little caveat that I think you all would, that physicists would really enjoy. So from there, the only thing is to systematically get the credit debit paid for the leaf pilt, the V, and roared. Stop prying.